Welcome to the Assist Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, and joining me today is my wonderful girlfriend who has an untitled role in the organization, pretty high up. We'll say she's executive or something of that. She is also always right. It is.
This is true.
Katie Justiniani. Katie, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay on this lovely Saturday here in balmy Orlando.
Oh, it sounds awful. I'm just here in the toasty 20 degrees Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes, so you are from Cleveland. We are from the same city. Please tell the people a bit more about yourself.
So you are from Cleveland.
I originate in Michigan. Always will be loyal and feel like a true Detroit person. But I would have to trace my hometown to Northridge, Ohio, yes.
There we go.
Okay, please tell the people more about yourself.
Well, I love dogs, art, and coffee. That's about it. I'm going to the University of Central Florida next year to pursue my animation career for Disney, hopefully, in experimental animation. I have a dog, Lola, who is my pride and joy. And my day doesn't usually start until I have at least 4 shots of espresso.
Perfect. Perfectly healthy.
There we go.
Perfectly healthy. Great introduction. And as part of our relationship, we exchange Netflix shows. And as it is in the title, today we are going to be talking about You. Not the You, but the show You that recently debuted on Netflix. Well, I guess not recently. I started watching recently. I finally finished. You had gotten me on it a while ago. And the premise of this show, for people who are tuning in and haven't really heard of it but are curious and are just loyal fans, I'm talking to you, Mom, is a charming first encounter quickly turns into something more nefarious. I like that word. When bookstore manager Joe takes a very strong liking to grad student Beck. Pretty ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
And of course, we're going to get down into the nitty gritty here. So whenever we are talking about a show or something like that here at The Assist, spoiler alert will be implied. And said, I should get Aiden work. We should talk to Aiden about that. Anyway.
Yeah, we will.
So spoiler for the rest of the show going on. If you haven't seen it but want to, don't keep listening. But if you have heard it and you want some of our gracious feedback, keep listening. All right, Katie, are you ready to break this down?
Oh, I am so ready.
Okay, so let's start with our main character, Joe Goldberg here. As mentioned, he is a bookstore manager. Mm-hmm. And when you first told me about the show, you said there's this guy, he does some bad things, but you're gonna like him. So I'm gonna say it from the beginning. I never liked him. I never liked him once. So please give the people a little bit of a background of his character, perhaps. And then we can talk about some of the reasons why I don't like him and I never did and I can't get over him.
Okay, so it's a good thing that you don't like him, because that's the point of this whole show, that you're not supposed to like him. Unfortunately, everyone, including me, fell in love with him immediately because he is attractive. He is woke in the sense that his opinions on things, aside from ethics, like keeping people alive or not, are very intact. He's very educated. He's very kind and humble. But the way that we meet this character is we are introduced with his inner thoughts as he is checking out a girl that walks into his bookstore. Kind of weird, but the thing is, when we watch it, we're like, oh, this is kind of cute. He's paying this much attention to her. But he's kind of being really stalkerish.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. I think the narration is a great... whoever decided that in that production room is like, we should have him narrate early. It's because you're right. At the beginning, it's kind of like, oh, it's nice. It's like a stream of consciousness almost. But then you're like, wow. As the show goes on, you're like, wow, he's just creepy. He's really creepy. And that's like, I think that adds another layer. You know, you don't really get a lot of narration a lot of times in shows like these. But I think it's a big point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we talk about this a little bit later. But it's when you're watching this, we constantly contradict ourselves and we find a justification for why we like this character. Unlike Zach, who's relatively conscious of his feelings about him the entire time, realizing that he is a sociopath and that we should not like him. But we find his obsessiveness to be cute and devoted.
So, yeah. So the show goes on. He meets Beck early on, obviously. That's what the whole show revolves around. We'll get to Beck in a second. And as you alluded to it earlier, I will now say it. Joe kills people. And
Yeah.
I'll go into... Let's get into Beck a little bit now so I can introduce who he kills. Beck is a broke NYU grad student. She's an aspiring writer, which plays very key into the end of season 1. And I put down here that they try to set her up to be the kind of good protagonist, but once we get into more of her character, I don't like her either. Like, they kind of tried... It seemed like at the beginning she was kind of like the innocent, like, oh, I'm just trying to find a living, and almost like Joe's trying to prey on her. But as the show goes on, you're like, wow, I hate both these characters. That's at least how I felt. So there's that. So the first person Joe kills, Beck has this on-off rich boyfriend named Benji. Great name, by the way. That's got to be an all-time great name, is Benji.
I feel like there was a douchebag name simulator that they came up with.
There has to be. You're right. And Joe kills him because Beck is on-off, right? So that kind of thing, just an on-off thing. And Joe's like, I need to get rid of you to get you away from Beck and be better for Beck. So murder there. That's one kill. One confirmed kill.
Yes.
And then obviously you murder someone. This is pretty early on. I think it might have been episode 2 or 3. Benji dies. So then your point about that Joe is woke in the sense that he's intact to all this social media stuff. He's very early on in his narration talking about how he doesn't like social media and all this stuff, but then he continues to tweet as Benji for the rest of the show, I would assume. I mean, they never find Benji. I want to bring that up later because I think they kind of just let that go. I know I'm probably being a little bit of a jerk, just pulling on that thread.
He wasn't missed.
Yeah, but I feel like we'll talk about it later.
Small pothole.
Exactly. We'll talk about it later. So that's one kill for Joe. Does it for Beck. And I guess we should kind of...
Sorry, go.
No, you're okay. I was just going to say we should probably talk about how Joe and Beck actually kind of like take off and how Joe kind of gets the stalker look. In the sense of, I believe, if I remember correctly, she was drunk, Beck was drunk, couldn't find her phone, quote unquote. It turned out Joe had stolen it. So there's some weird iCloud thing where Beck got a new phone but didn't disconnect her old phone for some reason. I don't know how that works because that's definitely not how that works now, as I bought a new phone recently. But regardless, it gives Joe an insight into all of Beck's texts and contacts.
Yeah, so he basically has an into Beck the entire time. So what happens, how they meet in the beginning, after she walks into the store, like I said in the beginning, and he starts checking her out. They exchange casualties, but she didn't leave him any contact information. So later on, he uses, I think it was her receipt. He finds some sort of way to track her down.
Yeah.
And then he manages to find where she's going one night and just kind of spies on her the entire time. And he does this throughout the show. And so she just happens to be drunkenly walking around alone after whatever event was happening. And he saved her life, that was kind of a cool move by him. Good job for being a decent human being. But that is how he got her phone. And then after that, they were linked together, and he was able to stalk her more because he had more information, like where she lived, like her phone, and he was able to go through and constantly see what she was talking about, who she talked to, where she went. And with that, he was able to then be like, oh, I'm reading this book too, crazy, even though she was just talking about reading that book, stuff like that.
Yes, or I ran into you at the store.
Yes. Stuff like this, where he was able to know, all right, she's not going to be here at this time, so I'm going to go into her house while she's away, pretend to be her boyfriend, and call to get a gas leak inspected.
Yep.
And so that's how we found him. But the thing is, with this show, we are constantly reminded, please don't think that I am being an overly sensitive snowflake. But the premise behind this show is that we are, according to the writer, we are supposed to realize that they are highlighting white male privilege in the sense that there are no consequences to these inhumane acts that he is constantly doing. Because if you think about it, should Beck have caught him in any of these spying acts, which she did once, I believe, where she's like, "Are you spying on me?"
Yeah,
he
she
was like,
it
yes,
was almost
I'm
like
just so in love
flirty.
with you.
Yeah.
She was so flattered. She was like, "Oh my gosh, someone cared about me so much that they would stalk me." And it's kind of, again, then tied into another thing that art is focused onto the premise of the show, the social media that we have been so overly obsessed with, that stalking is a form of flattery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, following and liking and retweeting and sharing everyone's post is a form of flattery, right? When in some cases, I mean, could you imagine back in the 50s if you were able to track almost, I mean, depending on what you share, of course, which in the show, Beck shares a lot. So that kind of feeds into each other. Mm-hmm. So just a little bit about Beck. The reason why I said they try to start up to be the good protagonist, like I said in the beginning, they try to make her like kind of innocent, you know, to Joe's creepiness and stuff like that. But then they kind of flip it. There are, I believe, multiple times in the show where Beck cheats.
Yes.
Which you and I know. I mean, we're in a relationship. We think cheating is worst of the worst. And I question anyone that doesn't really think that. And I think the other thing that you had down here that I agree with 100% is that Beck really struggles with who she is. And you see that a little bit. There's one episode where it's more Beck-centric, where she deals a lot with her dad. So you get some backstory there. And also, you see it when she struggles in her writing, that she doesn't really know who she is. So that was a fantastic point, I thought, from you. And I think you had some other things to expand upon that.
Yes, because, again, it's kind of keeping this outer lens and criticism on today's society in mind, where we are kind of agreeing with the excuses that these people are making for themselves. So Beck's excuse for cheating on Joe and overly falling into, and for becoming friends with people that she doesn't really like that much and pretending she is someone she isn't, we chalk that up to, oh, she's stressed, like, it's okay, you're just finding yourself. And we come up with all of these excuses when it's like, no, you're just not really that good of a person.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. And I think going back to we always are making, in the show, the point is kind of from the writer, we're making excuses for Joe's behavior. There is one character that is written in to not do that, and her name is Peach.
Wrong, you're wrong.
I don't know. I mean,
You just have a crush on her.
I do not. Because Peach is, I can throw the explicit on here, Peach is a bitch. She's a bitch. Anyway, Peach.
I went for lesbian.
Is Beck's wealthy best friend. That's the only description you get from Wikipedia. But we go in depth here. Peach is wealthy. Well, wealthy, duh. She's wealthy. She's like insanely wealthy. I mean, it's kind of like her main attribute in this show.
Unfortunately.
That there's also more backstory. It's almost like the show kind of did Joe's backstory first, then Beck's, and then Peach's a bit more. And so you kind of get insights to the character before the mid-season happens. Big event I'll get to. Where Peach, it turns out, is also stalkerish. She's also pretty dependent on other people. And she's
in love with Beck.
Yes, she's closeted, basically, right? Because her family, they describe her family as being wealthy and of the old guard and that they wouldn't approve. And she's so tied to the family brand. I'm correct on that, right? If I remember correctly?
Salinger.
Okay. So, yes, her last name's Salinger. That's a big deal. And in the mid-season episode where you get this kind of, the 2 episodes, you get this kind of Peach backstory. That storyline ends with Joe and Peach fighting over a gun. And because each one thinks they're the problem with Beck after Joe has eliminated the problem of Benji. And so Peach ends up having a mysterious quote-unquote suicide when we all know Joe shot her. So now Joe confirmed kills Dose.
Yeah. But he was just doing it to protect. He was just doing it to protect Beck. It was all for you, Beck. She was toxic. And then when everyone's watching it, they're like, yeah, you're right, Joe. And then you continue to root for Beck and Joe, which is exactly what I did.
I just think maybe killing your problems is not a good idea.
No, I completely agree. For the sake of the story, I was so into it.
I know. I get it. You and I both have a conscience to where we're like, yeah, this isn't good. This guy obviously in real life is a criminal.
Now I'm talking as if I thought this much about how it was wrong when I was watching it. But no, I was totally like, yeah, you get her, you kill her. Like she's a problem. Yeah. Because his mindset took over mine. I was like, you're right. Like, get rid of her. I root for them. Like, this is without her, then you guys will be so happy. And now looking back, it's like, wait.
Right. So I wanted to bring up one thing too that I think I asked you about a while ago when I watched this. The episode where Peach dies. I feel like they set up her and Joe to be almost mirror images. They both think each other's the problem. They're both obviously stalkery. They're both very dependent. Like I said, they're both... Peach obviously brought a gun to the estate where her and Beck were staying to be able to kill a problem. And both are almost kind of tight-guarded about their real intentions. Obviously, Joe doesn't want to get caught doing the things he does. Peach is closeted and never wanted Beck to know anything except for kind of behind... And they're both manipulators behind the scene, right? Convince me I'm wrong that they're not the same character and that eventually they set up Peach to basically die, but having her be a mirror image of Joe for the purpose of me having this conversation.
Oh, see, you were going so well, except for that last line.
You don't think they set it up to be on the Assist podcast in this sense?
You know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I think you're right.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Okay.
What about the most innocent kid? It's a kid named Paco. Well, I'll say innocent. Okay, so he's Joe's young neighbor. He looks up to Joe. And I think the purpose of his character, if I'm going from a storyboard point, is he's used to show that Joe has humanity, right?
Yeah, partially.
So, and I like him. I mean, he obviously goes through a lot, as you noted on this beautiful document we have. But the problem with the whole humanity thing that I had, once again, as you see my theme here with Joe's character, is that Joe kills someone in front of Paco.
This was the only killing that I thought was justified. So this killing, sorry, Zach, this killing was of a man who abused Paco's mother and who was trying to kill Paco. And this was in a manner of self-defense and protecting Paco. And so Joe killed this abuser for Paco. That I thought was okay. And unfortunately, when Joe taught Paco, sometimes killing is okay. Not that self-defense is okay, that killing is okay.
Yeah.
This is what enabled Paco to let Beck die at the hands of Joe.
Yep. Yeah, so I get your point. I do. My problem is if you take it like that Joe murdered, not murdered, but I guess, yeah, murdered this man in self-defense of Paco. The issue I have is that this was his third murder. This happens late in the show. This might be episode 9 out of the 10. So my issue was, or my thing is, I guess, if this was episode 2, you're right. I'd be like, well, that makes sense. That's pretty justified in terms of the show. But this is the third time. That's my problem. I was already off the deep end with Joe at this point, disliking him. So it just kind of was like, wow, 3 kills, 3 confirmed kills. So now,
that's why they did it.
I guess, but it doesn't make it any better. You killed someone in front of a kid.
Yeah, but I mean, he had to.
Could have knocked him out.
Had to, but listen, this one was the most justifiable.
Yes, okay, that's fair. That's a fair statement. I will agree with that.
Thank you.
So yeah, and then Paco leaves at the end of the show, and obviously you mentioned enables Beck's murder, so yeah, that's where we're all getting to here. We're getting kind of the end of the plot here. Paco, it's maybe 10 minutes left in season 1. Beck is downstairs, cannot, of the bookstore. There's a secret room down there. Cannot unlock the door. Joe and her have been fighting. Joe has been trying to get her to see his way and see how he does everything for her. And Beck was manipulating him, trying to get out, which I don't blame her. She was in the cage. And gets let out of the cage, screaming to Paco, let him out, and Paco just walks away. Joe ends up getting her, and although we don't see the kill, a memoir gets published from Beck that Joe put out, and Beck is dead. So finally, Joe's KD is 4-0.
5.
5?
Yeah, with his ex-girlfriend. He killed the guy that she was cheating on him with.
Good point. Sorry, my bad. Flashback, you're right. It should have been 6. He thought it was 6. He thought he killed Candace, too.
Ooh, 5.5.
That's a season 2 plotline, though. Well, we can't talk about that yet.
Spoilers.
That was the big cliffhanger, was that one of Joe's ex-girlfriends, because apparently he has a history of this, he says, "Oh, you're alive." That was the season 1 ending scene. So there's a season 2 coming up, but that is how it ends. Beck dies, and honestly, I thought she would live.
I thought she could fight through it.
Yeah, I thought she would live. I mean, I get it. I get the murder. I don't like Joe. I think Joe's terrible. And also, Joe got out of all this because he blamed the therapist that they had both been seeing. He had dug up enough on that. So Joe is absolved and clear, apparently, going out or into season 2. So there's that. That's basically the plot line with the characters. And I mean, obviously I don't want people to die, but like, I don't think Beck was a saint either. So
yeah, true.
Once again, I will say, as I said in the beginning, I did not like any character. I liked Paco for a little bit. Then he did that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well.
So a little bit into the nuances, as we shall. We talked about how Joe is woke, doesn't like social media. And I just want to point out, he talks about how much he hates social media. He tweets a lot for someone who preaches about that. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just pointing that out. Just stating that.
He doesn't do it, like, from him.
Right. So, yeah, I guess that's the point. He uses others. He eventually commandeers Beck's Twitter accounts from her old phone that he had access to or stolen to earlier in the show. So he was both Benji and Beck and himself. So that's fun. So obviously we have some overall kind of themes is the the murder, the stalking, the social media, the codependence. Joe is obviously OCD, sociopath, as you said, and yet, as you said, people like him. And I know you put down here a couple tweets here that the actor's name is Penn Badgley. So we'll let you take that over.
Yeah. So what's great about this is that Penn Badgley, he's actually played a stalker sociotype before, and he's always he's like, I want to use my privilege as this actor that people see so often to bring attention to the fact that these are real problems, that people kind of let this slide under the radar so often, and then people constantly go on as, oh my gosh, she can go break my heart and all of this. So here are some of the tweets that he responded to. So a fan said this already, but Penn Badgley is breaking my heart once again as Joe. What is it about him? And so he responds, answer, he is a murderer.
Yeah.
And so another fan wrote in, okay, but Penn Badgley was sexy as Dan, but oh Lord, Joe is a whole new level. And he responded, of problems, right? And he's just constantly advocating, like, for all of the good things that this show was supposed to be, yet people are constantly saying things like, but we can do nothing if you're a hot murderer, or you should stop putting them as such hot people as these actors, when that isn't the point. So it's just kind of funny how that's working, because no matter how hard, like, the writer tries about this, or the actors, like the people who are on the screen that are getting the attention, like, people are constantly going to manipulate and misread what's happening. So if anything, it's a very enjoyable show to watch. It's very entertaining. If anything else, take away a good thriller.
I agree. So 2 points on what you said. One,
Okay.
I am very comfortable in my sexuality.
Yes.
I am able to look at a man and say, you know what? That is a good-looking dude.
Uh-huh.
Penn Badgley, at least in this show, is not a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking guy.
I disagree. He had scenes. Obviously, it's a romantic thing, so there's some hot and heavy scenes here. And I'm looking at, he's got this weird chest hair pattern. I'm like, I'm not biting. And maybe it's just because in episode 1, I was like, this dude's creepy as hell. Whatever, I'm out. Maybe that's playing into it. But I just looked at him and I'm like, this dude isn't like Tom Cruise. Like, everyone's talking about how hot he is. And I'm like, I don't really vibe with that. I don't see that.
I don't think he's like incredibly attractive, but like I think he's decently attractive.
Once again, 5 murders.
Yeah.
Other point that it's just a good watch. I agree. Obviously, this is not my style.
Yeah.
My style is things that go boom and superheroes, and I think the most close thing we got to that was the gas leak. That didn't really go boom. I guess it could have. I don't know.
No, he set a body on fire.
Oh, good point. Yeah, he did do that. And he did shoot a couple people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that was like the villain. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. I'm excited for season 2. So before I say a couple details about season 2 and we move on to our fun game and story, I want to do a couple random questions that have nothing to do with deep character analysis, but that I still want to talk about.
Okay.
Mallets are in this show.
Yeah.
Joe uses it to hit Benji down and knock him out, and then Beck uses it to knock Joe out.
Yeah. Blunt force trauma.
Mallets are really, really heavy.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you have a blunt force trauma, like you said, to the face, like both of these people had, they should die.
Yeah, there were 3 instances. Well, and one was also a rock, not too far off.
Yes.
None of them died. They were just knocked out.
I mean, I know Thorne hasn't seen this yet. I haven't conversed with him yet, but just because the assist people know who he is, like, I think him and I would have talked for 10 minutes about this, about mallets and the force needed to apply. Because I was talking to you, I'm like, oh my God, Benji's dead. And then I'm like, wait, he's alive? He just has, like, a black hole where his head should be where the mallet was? I'm like, that doesn't work. And obviously he died anyway. But point is,
again,
mallets are depowered. Also, another Benji related. I told you, Benji might be the only character I actually sympathize with. I said they show Benji tweeting Joe tweeting from Benji's account maybe 2 episodes after his death, so halfway through the season. And so I put, is Joe still tweeting from Benji? Like, was his body never found? I know they burned it, but like, I mean, Benji was pretty rich, and obviously Beck found Benji's teeth. So that shows you how messed up Joe was too. I mean, he was pulling this guy's teeth.
Keeping clear of the dental records that could be found.
You're right. I mean, that shows how sociopathic he is.
He was thorough.
I agree, but that still doesn't make it okay.
He is likable. He's a very thorough man. He knows.
I have a question I just came up with though.
I'm ready.
Could Penn Badgley be a good Joker?
Maybe.
There we go. So who's Bruce Wayne going to be then in this and you season 2?
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Oh, it won't be Ben Affleck. Ha ouch. Okay, anyway. Let's move on to our game, shall we? Unless you have anything else to say. Do you have any more analysis about your beloved Joe?
No. Just when you're watching this, try and watch it keeping in mind the things that you should be keeping in mind, knowing what the author had, trying to show that there are problems with our society, but also just enjoy it.
Because it is a book.
Very good watch. It's so nice.
It is fun. A book, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to double check. So season 2, just a couple quick notes. They're moving to LA. This was obviously in New York. Beck won't be a part of the show. Candace and Old X will be coming back. Beck's friends, Annika and Lynn, will be back. Joe will be in LA. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Haven't started filming yet. Fun times. Okay, let's play our game.
Woo!
So we could call this rapid fire questions. So to define that, let's say we have to answer in less than 15 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to start or would you like me to start?
You start.
Describe me in 3 words.
Kind, inquisitive, and thorough.
Oh, that's so adorable.
Adorable. So now describe me in 3 words.
Genuine,
Oh.
thoughtful, and beautiful.
Oh my gosh, you're making me blush. Okay, next one. So, what is the worst place to pick up a date?
An alley?
Okay, I get it.
Like in maybe Detroit?
Okay.
Where do you think the worst place to pick up a date is?
A family reunion.
And we just lost all our listeners in West Virginia.
Stop it!
We don't have any listeners from West Virginia yet. Maybe they just
now
won't
we're not
listen
going
to
to get
it.
any.
Well, maybe not. Well, why are you saying where? You have an unofficial position in this organization anyway.
All right, then you can just take away everything. Give me back my logo.
Okay, anyway.
Next one.
What's a song that describes me?
Pretty Boy Swag.
That's not a real song. There's no way that's a real
Look
song.
it up. Soldier Boy. Pretty Boy Swag.
Oh, Soldier Boy. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, go.
What's a song that describes me?
Not Afraid by Eminem. You're never afraid of anything.
Ooh, except spiders.
Well, yeah, we don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
We live in America. We're fine. There's no spiders.
Go.
Oh, shit. Okay. If you could be any celebrity, who would you be?
Oh, shit. I didn't think we were doing this one yet. Oh, I wasn't prepared. Billie Eilish.
Wow, okay.
No. Childish Gambino.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. Mr. Glover.
Donald Glover.
The Mr. Glover.
Donald Glover.
That's right.
Okay. If you could be any celebrity, who would you be?
You know, I'd be someone who's used to be in the public life, isn't really in it anymore,
I know who you're going to say.
has their mansion.
I know who is this. Oh my gosh.
I don't think you actually know who this is,
Go ahead.
but I'm going to say it. If I could be any celebrity, I think I'd be Jay-Z.
Interesting.
He's out just chilling. I mean, he's dropping music. He's like, I don't care if you like it or not. I am owning this company and stuff. Dr. Dre's also a good one.
I thought you were going to say Tony Stark. I'm not going to lie.
Well, he's not real, but obviously that's the answer.
Okay. That's
Jeff
fair.
Bezos would have been the answer until he is a moron and didn't be faithful to his wife because he's a bad person. Anyway, what is one thing that if you had less of would make your life easier?
Melanin.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
That wasn't actually my first answer, but I thought that was the realest.
I have no reply. I don't have any comment. I can't. Okay. Yeah.
What is one thing that if you had less of would make your life easier?
Bruising around my right ankle.
Oh yeah. Our poor chief executive.
Cheap executive? Come on, we don't need to put those kind of jokes on here.
Sprained his ankle in IM soccer.
I got stomped on viciously. It hurts a lot. It's frustrating. I'm not even Hold on. I am sitting there immobile in my bed last night, while Katie we're talking on FaceTime like we do every night, for those of you who don't know who we are in a long-distance relationship. Katie's in Ohio. I'm in Florida. We FaceTime every night to go to bed. And I'm sitting there, and Katie's like, let's play a game. I say, okay, I'm going along with this. She says, let's play Duck, Duck, Goose. I say, okay. She goes, Duck, Duck. She goes, Goose, catch me if you can. Oh, wait, you can't. As I am sitting there with ice in pain, not being able to put any pressure on my leg. So that is the supportive girlfriend I have. And you know what? She was right.
Mwah.
That's not even our story. All right.
You crippled.
You haven't even asked. Oh, I did answer that question. Okay. Let's do a story. Let's do the story now. Stories.
Clearly, Zach and I are of different religions. He is Jewish, and I am Catholic. And so we celebrated Chrisamika, or what did we say? Hanumas?
We said Hanumas. It works better. Your mom said, though, we should keep Christ in Christmas, which she's probably right on.
Hanumas just flowed better.
It does flow better. It's much easier to say. So for the podcast, It's Hanumas.
So we celebrated, we exchanged gifts halfway between Christmas and Hanukkah.
The beginning of Hanukkah. It's an 8-day difference.
Yeah. So on Christmas and Christmas Eve, aside from family parties, we didn't really have anything to do. So on Christmas Eve, I said, Zach, what do you want to do? And he just wanted to go get food, but it was Christmas Eve, so there wasn't really any place open. So we drove around. And then, Zach, would you like to take it?
We went to IHOP. And you know what? My pancakes were good. My strawberry syrup was good. It's a habit. I told you. The people don't know this. When my dad and I flew on Christmas Day to save money down here a couple years ago to go to a soccer tournament, we forgot it was Christmas Day as we walked around the town looking for a place to eat. The only place that was open was Denny's. So breakfast places for the win on holidays. It's a tradition. On next Christmas Eve, we will go to IHOP again.
Okay, fine.
It is now a thing. Also, there's not going to be a Hanukkah this year.
Yeah, they're on the same.
Yeah, Hanukkah lines up with Christmas. How nice of the Jewish calendar to do that.
Yeah, Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov to another episode. Katie, I'm sure I will be talking to you in like 10 minutes.
We'll see.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was delightful.
Thank you for listening to the Assist Podcast. If you like the show, go drop a 5-star rating. That really helps us keep the show going. If you want to stay updated with all of the podcast episodes, hit the subscribe button and also go follow our Twitter, which is @assist_podcast, and our Instagram, which is now the Assist Podcast. And you can write any emails, any suggestions you have to theassistpod@yahoo.com, and we'll see you next week.